The main character of Flushed Away is Roddy. Roddy's a pet to a very wealthy family, and when they're away, yeah, okay, that's actually pretty pathetic. Anyways, his life is turned upside down when a sewer rat shows up and basically takes over his home. He's flushed into the sewers and has to get back. I actually found this character really irritating when the film started. Although, as the movie went on, he actually kind of grew on me. Part of that is, of course, because he stops whining so much, but there were a variety of other reasons too, like his slow realization that his old life was kind of a lonely one. You know, he's not that bad of a character. In fact, I'll go even further than that. He's a pretty good character, as is the female lead. The heroine is Rita, and I loved her from the start. She's badass. Not that Aardman seems to have a problem writing females. Rita's a ship captain. Roddy needs to go to her because she might be the only one who can take him up to the surface. Unfortunately, he manages to get her captured by the Toad, who is after her because she stole a ruby from him. Rita's a good character because she's tough, but also has a vulnerable side. Oftentimes, when creating female characters, there does seem to be the habit of either writing them as overly vulnerable, which, speaking as a female who wouldn't be caught dead swooning, is somewhat insulting, or overly tough to compensate for them being chicks, which is honestly almost as bad. Rita is pretty well balanced. And actually, her and Roddy's relationship is kind of perfect. I've never been one of those people who can really get into romance between anthropomorphic animal characters, even in movies I like. But the way this is written, it made me care about these characters. It develops really naturally and is not overstated. They don't even share a kiss on screen. This is pretty rare for me and therefore worth mentioning. Now, other than that, the only other character that really stands out to me, apart from maybe Spike, who is okay in small doses but would have probably gotten kind of annoying if he'd been given a bigger part, is the Toad's henchman Whitey, voiced by Bill Nye, because, at least for me, he's probably the most hilarious character in this movie. Yeah, did not care for the comic relief slugs. This character made me laugh the most.
All right. Check the tin.
Good girl. See, Whitey, this is how to do it. Watch and learn, my son. Watch and learn.
Was it in there?
The villain is the Toad, and despite being voiced by the totally excellent Sir Ian McKellen, he is just so-so. He's not a bad villain, I don't know, found him more annoying than anything. Same with LaFrog. The Toad's motivation is that he started out as a pet in the palace, but was cast aside into the sewers and feels he is far superior to the rats. So, he decides to freeze them all in liquid nitrogen and fill the sewers with his tadpoles. Ew. Not bad as far as motivation goes, but I don't know, he's just sort of yuck. So, on to the plot. The plot of Ratatouille, as previously stated, is incredibly unique and incredibly bizarre. And, as is the case with most Pixar films, absolutely top-notch. Remy wants to be a cook, and because of a deal he works out with Linguini, he gets to cook in secret.
So let's think this out. You know how to cook, and I know how to appear human.
I love that character. There are a couple different conflicts, one being the chef, and then there's Remy's father, who doesn't approve of him, as well as his brother, who encourages him to start stealing from the restaurant. This doesn't seem like too big of a deal until Linguini becomes the head chef after everyone figures out he's actually Gusteau's long-lost son, which leads to a falling out between Linguini and Remy. And the last big conflict is trying to impress the critic, Anton Ego, whose initial review lost Gusteau's a star and then also killed the chef himself. This plot actually has a lot of different angles. One thing I love about this movie, well, I love everything about this movie, but one major thing to note is the fact that the two main characters do not communicate to one another in dialogue. Their friendship develops nicely, but unlike in other films where human characters can talk to animals, Remy and Linguini do not speak. I really like this because it makes the film feel a little bit less far-fetched. It always amazes me when Pixar is able to pull something like this off, given how completely ridiculous it is. But, despite how silly the premise is, it comes off as pretty believable, at least by animated film standards. Well, most of the time. Flushed Away, as previously stated, is about Roddy trying to get back up to the surface. After revealing to Rita that a ruby is fake, he promises to get her a real one from the house where he lives if she agrees to take him back. But him and Rita get the full attention of the Toad when Rita accidentally steals an important electrical cable that the Toad needs. After his henchmen fail to bring them back, he sends his cousin LaFrog. During the course of this film, it slowly occurred to me that the plot felt off. That's not to say that there are many plot holes or even really many things that don't feel plausible. It just feels like it was written without any real conviction. To be fair, this film is much, much better than I thought it was going to be. But the only reason it's worth seeing is because of the characters, namely the two main characters, as they feel like they've been imported from a far better movie. After I read up on Aardman and DreamWorks' experience in creating this film, it better helped me to understand what my problem was while watching it. This plot feels like the product of two companies in disagreement. It feels like a grudgingly written story where a lot of compromises were made. The sad thing is, there's a good movie somewhere in here, but it's clear that there was probably some rewritings and that neither company really got what they wanted in the end. That seriously hurts the final product, and it does not surprise me that this film has basically vanished off the face of the earth, despite having some really good things in it.
Thank you.
I heard that originally Aardman wanted this film to be about pirates, but they were turned down because there was no market for pirate films apparently. Incidentally, Pirates of the Caribbean came out 3 years later. But they've teamed up with another American production company, and based on their upcoming release, maybe this time the two companies will be a little bit more compatible. Based on the evidence so far, I'm optimistic. But it's safe to say that with this film, they had no chance of beating out Disney and Pixar. Ratatouille is easily better, because despite their differences and minor spats, Disney and Pixar do seem to work really well together, and for the most part turn out really excellent products. And while both companies probably have their strengths, I can't help but wondering if it maybe works because Disney gives Pixar more creative control than DreamWorks gave Aardman. I may be wrong, but considering the difference between Disney and Pixar films and Disney on their own lately, well, yeah. For a while there, Disney wasn't faring much better than DreamWorks. What was that? What? Disney kind of sucks on their own lately. What do you want me to say? I'm just trying to be honest. Alright then, prove me wrong.